because eventually the topics that I love and I treasure and I hold so close to my heart will lead me to these more expansive and adventurous topics that I don't even have to really think in my mind consciously, like, how am I going to get there? So it's been a cool surprise to kind of be a jack of all trades because it leads you towards mastery. Most people think that it doesn't. Most people think that, mastery comes from choosing one thing, but actually I found for myself that me being a jack of all trades has led me to deep mastery of just my life and being myself.
Welcome to Whole and Unleashed, a podcast about coming home to ourselves. I'm your host, Jessica Locke, a holistic mindset, Strala yoga, and human design guide. This podcast is not about telling you what to do. It's about sharing stories and tools to connect to your inner wisdom and maybe give you an extra nudge towards living wholeheartedly. Because deep down, only you know what's best for you. We'll be talking mindset, business, recovering from burnout, human design, transitions, and so much more. Let's dive in, shall we? Hello, welcome. Today we have someone that I've been following or admiring for years. Her name is Jasmine. You're the co-founder of Erah Society and the host of Countercultural, an internationally recognized podcast where you explore the shifting paradigms of business, creativity, spirituality, and consciousness. Welcome, Jasmine.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to have this conversation today.
I have envisioned this for a very long time, and this is my fangirl moment. I warned you at the beginning. This feels very full circle because I found you through a podcast maybe 4 or 5 years ago around the pandemic. I had joined a business mastermind, and my mentor, Melissa Griffin, she was interviewing you, and it said,
Oh,
I
yes,
think something
yes.
around human design. And I was so resistant to the episode because I was at a time that I'm transitioning out of graphic design. I was in corporate
Mm,
burnout. And a part of me is like, I don't want to learn more about graphic design, whatever design is, but I decided to tune in.
yes. More, that's funny.
And little did I know it had nothing to do with graphic
Nothing
design,
at all to do with graphic design.
but literally human design. And from there, you open a portal for me. I order your soul
Mm,
map. And then I was tuning
mm.
into your lives, and you're like, well, I don't teach. You can go to like Jess and Teo. And then they had something.
Mhm.
So you have led to like domino piece of
Oh, it's
me
so
embracing that.
cool. Oh, that's so cool to hear. That's very, very cool. Thank you for sharing that. Because you never really know um what piece the other person is taking from you just showing up. So it's always such a nice moment to hear and to be able to kind of back travel to that time and know that okay, she was taking away this thing and then it led her on to that and yeah, that's amazing. I'm so happy to hear that.
Thank you. Thank you for witnessing me in this moment because also so much of your teaching and how you show up. I don't comment often. Once in a while, I like thumbs up, love. I don't know why. I'm just shy to comment unless there's a little bit of a foundation. But I think what led to reaching out to you the last time was you did a live on business and money, and so many
Mm,
of your
hmm
shares
hmm
are around your own contemplations and reflections on how do we show up in the Aquarian world in the new paradigm? How do we shift the all that hardcore conditioning, bro marketing of how to do business to do it in a more embodied way. So that was my portal to you, and then all your work. And I've seen so many different evolutions or different phases you've explored and shared with us. So I'm excited to dive in and ask
Yeah,
more about
me
what you've been up
too.
to.
Me too. Let's get into it.
So if I were to ask you right now today, who are you now? What would you share with people who don't know about you?
Who am I today with people that don't know about me? If we were just meeting for the first time, I would say that I am first and foremost a spiritual philosopher. I think that's the foundation of my life is weaving in spirituality and spiritual principles into everything that I do. And then secondly, I would say that I am a creative director of sorts. I love working with anything that has to do with art, expression, culture, business, wellness, and finding the intersection, music, of all those things. Finding the intersection of how those things touch one another, how they meet. Because ultimately, it's just me. I would just say I'm just being myself. And these are all the intersections that I sit at and all the topics that I'm interested in. And I think that I will be interested in for the rest of my life. I don't think that there is one thing that I do and only one topic that I'm going to be exploring for the rest of my life. I think that I have found the foundations of those things, and I'm really excited to see how my life and my lived experience gets to open up those topics even more and more. I used to be really afraid of that actually, and um, kind of like, no, I don't want to be so confined to the things that I love right now because I want to leave myself open to love more things. But I actually think that in a funny way, the foundational things that I love are getting me to new things. They're getting me to new explorations. Like I don't have to be so focused on um I don't know, I hiking or something or something that doesn't seem as close to all the topics I just shared with you because eventually the topics that I love and I treasure and I hold so close to my heart will lead me to these more expansive and adventurous topics that I don't even have to really think in my mind consciously like how am I going to get there. So it's been a cool surprise to kind of be a jack of all trades because it leads you towards mastery. Most people think that it doesn't. Most people think that, mastery comes from choosing one thing, but actually I found for myself that me being a jack of all trades has led me to deep mastery of just my life and being myself.
I'm taking it in. This is so profound because there's a lot of attachment around labels and accomplishments and how freeing it is to almost go back to like being a kid where you're playing because it's fun, not because
Yes.
it will lead to I don't know how many figures or we do need to worry about that, but there is this ease, this kind of
Mm.
excel. And I think you also had a section somewhere about daily sigh. Was that something that you
Mm-hmm.
were sharing?
Mm-hmm.
Which is like, like I don't need
Yes.
to try. I don't need to be contracting all the time. I can
Yeah.
excel and settle into the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, my friend actually pointed out to me the full extent of that quote. Jack of all trades, master of none, but sometimes better than the master of one. And most people cut off that quote, the end part of that quote, and they just say, a jack of all trades is a master of none. And it's like, no, 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 hold on. Let's read the full context of that quote, which is it's that person is sometimes better than a master of one because of their holistic view, because of their vast breadth and depth of all the things that they're taking in, and the fact that they're courageous enough to sit at the intersections of what those um trades where those trades meet at because most people are not thinking about spirituality and business and well-being and culture. They're thinking about it separately as different entities. They're not seeing where they bleed into each other or where they crossbreed to create a new type of paradigm, a new type of perspective, a way of looking at the world that maybe we haven't fully gone into, but it's, we have these visionaries from the past that have said, look into these things, and we haven't really gone that deep into them. I'm so intrigued and interested by the merging of these two things. Like, I'll give you an example. My husband Alex grew up um, very evangelical Christian, and through his kind of journey, his spiritual journey, he's really found a home in Hinduism. And it's been really cool to see him merge his love for Christianity and Jesus Christ with the pantheon of godheads that Hinduism provides, one for this and one for this and one for this type of courage and one for the abundance and one for peace, one for stillness. And it's just given him so much healing. Um, and a very fresh perspective about his upbringing. Like it's not just one way of doing something. It's that, wow, God wants to be expressed in a multitude of ways, not just in a very monotheistic way that Christianity has put forth as an option or as a, as one of the pathways that people can walk through. And it's those types of things that are just so they make my mouth water. Like they're just so interesting and just so invigorating. I also have my Venus in Aquarius. So it's it's the things that I love that are so unique and different and you can't quite pinpoint where they're coming from. They're surprised, but also delighted and to what you were saying, they offer you that deep sigh, that kind of relief of, wow, I didn't think of it that way, or it's kind of cool to be shown something different.
I love all of that so much because we're supposed to take in information, discern, digest, and create all the
Mm,
magical things, but we get trapped in our own very sometimes linear or very claustrophobic ways of being that might have worked in the past, but so many of it is a stepping stone. Just
yeah.
using human design as an example, when I first learned about it, I had so much fear because I felt like the people that I was consuming content was very like, this is how you be a right projector. This is,
Mm,
and whatever their approach is, it wasn't helpful for me because it leaves the humanness out. And I have been so used to going at extremes. I chose to be Catholic growing up, so I was at the extreme. I chose to eat healthy, so I was so extreme that it was like borderline eating
mm,
disorder, eating healthy, right? So
wow.
knowing going through those extremes and how dangerous it can be, even though the intention starting was it's pure, it's almost innocent when you get into
Hmm.
those things. But then it get lost when we become so rigid and yeah, let the fear, let all the constraints take over. So even hearing about Alex's process of like, yeah, religion is you share often, we are God, we are divinity.
Hmm.
That when I heard it years ago was such a remembrance of like, yes, like when did I forget?
Mm, yeah. Yes. And it's that curiosity that I think brings us back to that place because if if we weren't curious about mixing red and green together, we would never know what color, what new color it provides. So I wonder why we stop at that curiosity or that childlikeness, where we stop with just colors as opposed to philosophies, as opposed to cultures, as opposed to languages. Like it's almost as though the more mature we get, the more serious we get. And I love being serious. Like I have a deep reverence for um respect and tradition and all the things that are virtuous and good in our world, but also God is very playful and funny and comedic. And I mean, if you just look at all the different types of flowers that exist on this earth, like it blows your mind. The colors, the designs, the petals textures, the stem textures, I mean, it's endless, infinite creation, infinite, infinite, infinite. And to see that, I wish we would see it as an inspiration to see what more is inside of us, as opposed to, oh, we've already found this type of personality, so let's just stick to that one for the rest of our lives until we die. That's not a full life to me. I'm also a third line, so I think there's like this inner desire that just wants to like try everything and knock down every wall and just really taste life and live life to the fullest that I wasn't necessarily raised with, but through my deconditioning process, I've really gotten to embrace more and more. And I mean, it's truly been life-changing.
That was going to be my next question. Like when did things started to shift for you? Like your mind started to open or
Mm,
embrace those natural tendencies that we might have forgotten or think it's
Mm.
not as good, because trying things out, trying new things when you haven't mastered a one thing is so often frowned upon. Or starting business, and if you don't succeed in this business, that means you just suck, all
Yeah.
those terrible stories and beliefs.
Yes. I mean, I come from a very strong Nigerian household culturally. And so the conditioning, but also the instilling of doing your best and being your best, uh, was very, very strong in me. And so there simultaneously was a fear of failure that if I tried something and I wasn't the best at that, then that would come with shame or rejection from my parents in some way. And so that was actually the biggest part of my deconditioning journey. When you come to human design, you have this 7-year deconditioning journey, they say, to really start to live your design. And a lot of things that you once believed about yourself fall away. And for me, the two parts within my design that I really had to have, a come to holy moment with was the fact that I was a third line and the fact that I am not a typical generator in the sense that I have a lot of definition and I have a lot of channels and I have so much energy to give, and I don't. For the longest time, I thought I was either a projector or a reflector because I was always tired. I was always just, yeah, I just didn't have the same energy that is read about in human design when people are saying, "Oh, you're a generator. Do what lights you up. You have so much energy to give. You can go all day." And I'm like, I don't feel like that at all. Like that doesn't resonate with me. After learning with Justin Teo, it was clear as to the nuances and the subtleties that really make up the type and how we are actually so, so different. Like no two generators are alike. So paired with that deconditioning journey and my earlier upbringing, it was a
Can you
lot to
remind
stomach.
us of your
Yeah.
design? I know you're a 3-5 sacral
Yes, I'm a
generator.
3-5 classic generator or sacral generator. And I only have the head and ajna connected and the sacral and root, and everything else is open.
It's a
Um,
952, right?
yeah,
Ah,
exactly. It's the 63-4 and the 952. So the channel of logic and the channel of stillness, or
uh,
however you want to take it. But I have a very minimal energy. So even though I have a defined sacral and everyone looks at that and they're like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, so much energy." Actually, when you look into the details of that sacral, there's not a lot of energy coming out of it. And it's a very specific type of energy that the environment has to be right. There's so many things that have to go on before energy can actually leave my body to start regenerating. And I didn't know all these things paired with having an undefined heart and overgiving and spending a lot of my younger years people pleasing and wanting people to love me, wanting my parents to love me, obviously, every child wants their parent to love them. And, if you grow up with this foundational kind of law that you do your best, you should be the best, and then you fall short of that, um, there is a projection that you start internalizing that you're not that great and you are a failure. And then that kind of leads you to overcompensating in other ways, giving of your time, giving of your energy, even though you don't want to, even though you really want to say no, you don't have any boundaries because no one ever taught you how to do that. No one ever said that it was okay to have those boundaries. So it has been really interesting to get to a place where I finally affirm how I've always felt, which is I don't have a lot of energy to give. The energy that I give is very sacred and very intentional and very specific. And when I do give it, it's off of my own volition, not because I feel bad or not because I want you to like me or any of those things. And it's been a long journey and it's a daily thing, as you know, like, the deconditioning journey doesn't end at 7 years and then you're just free. Like every day you are unearthing these new aspects of yourself that you had to hide from in order to just survive your life. So I don't know if I answered that question in a roundabout way, but um, that's where I am today, is really rewriting this idea that failure doesn't exist. And to your point, you mentioned that when we're entrepreneurs and our business doesn't work, we think of ourselves as failures.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I've really actually been sitting with that a lot recently, because I that's something I would love to rewrite in business and in general, is there isn't any failure. There is just a point that we take things to, and
Mhm.
then we're finished with it.
Yeah.
Like it sometimes we don't need to get to some other point. We just need to get to our own specific ending point.
Okay, so I've been getting a lot of questions around like gate 11 because people are like, I have
Mm,
11, it's ideas. I have all the ideas. How do I know if they're good? How do I know if they're work? And I'm like, but why did it have to be good or bad? What makes an idea good
mm,
in your lens? And why do you think you have to finish your idea or like take it to the end point of wherever that idea wanted to go? And it's so fascinating, right? When we get into that, maybe an energetic burst and inspiration, it's almost this expectation wherever it's coming from to have to go all the way, to have to
mm.
cook through it properly instead of here are the ingredients. What else
Yes, I
can you
love
create?
that. Yeah. I love that so much. And I that has been so healing for me as a third line, because I will end things in the middle, the perceived middle. But for me, that's the end. I don't have any more energy for it. That's the end. I mean, it's bonds made and broken, right? So I'm finished. I'm complete. There's nothing more to give. There's nothing more to get. And it's just a clean ending. And it's actually, that whole experience has actually inspired me to create something completely new based off of how far other entrepreneurs have taken their businesses. And it's something that I don't think that I could have come up with on my own had I not gone through that journey of reconciling the shame and the guilt and the fear and the embarrassment, all the emotions that come with not getting to the perceived finish line, or to the status quo finish line, or to the societal finish line. Really honoring what is our own internal finish line.
Mhm.
Because again, like I said, I don't have that type of energy that can sustain something long term. It's also taught me about collaboration and not trying to do everything on my own. But my chart really is great for like startup energy. Like I have a lot of root, I have a lot of hanging root gates, and obviously like the mental energy. It's ideation, starting up. Like how do we get this thing moving and grooving? Like it's the Kickstarter. But then to like work at that job or that business every day.
I can hear it in your
I
voice. Like,
cannot do I'm just like I get stir crazy. I want to go start another thing. And that's why I think it's so interesting, from the perspective of people that observe me. I'm always starting things. I'm always starting things. And I don't have um the channel of begin of sorry, the gate of beginnings. Um but it's all that fuel, all that adrenal, all that root pressure energy that's like, oh, I want to get something going. I want to like move life a little bit. But then when you ask me to like come back into the office after the startup is, no, I'm not going to.
it's so
I just,
freeing
yeah, I
that
know.
you've
It's
learned this about yourself because and now you've structured your business,
absolutely.
your life around it. Can you tell me a little bit more about how it looks like right now for you?
Yeah, I mean, I've gone through a really cool ending and simultaneous beginning. I love obviously experimenting and trying new things out. And really what I'm gathering, I'm gathering data that will allow me to use my energy more efficiently. So when I go and I try certain offers or I'll launch something, I'm not doing it necessarily for like a cash injection or any of the things that typically businesses would do. Not to say that those things are wrong or bad, but that's just not what internally is my motivating force. I'm trying to look for a point of potential, I should say, a point where I can really dig in, grab that piece that came from everything else, and then turn that small piece into a bigger situation. And so I've done that with all of my offers. And I recently closed down the digital version of our tea house. And really, what I gathered from all of that is that most people want to start a business, but don't have the energy to begin. Or most people have the energy to begin, but don't have the energy to sustain. So it's always one of those two things. And then we kind of live in this weird post girl boss era where like we were taught to do everything ourselves, but now we realize that like collaboration and moving together is the way forward. But then we all have these individual businesses that we're all one person is running, eight departments on their own, and it's just complete chaos. So I've really been toying with this idea of buying businesses from founders who are at an inflection point, who are complete with where they are with their business, and then gathering the right people to run that specific business. Because there's so many beautiful ideas in the world that are coming and channeling through us as individual vessels, but do we ever really ask, am I the one to take this all the way to the end? Or am I the one that's just here to seed it, to sow it, to cultivate it? Like, what part of this growing process am I supposed to be in, And while I'm great at the starting up and the revitalization of a business, um, I'm not so great at the day-to-day sustenance of the business. I'm the person that like comes in, checks in, making sure all the energy is good. I'm also right angle cross of tension. So, I just come in, I provide my little energy and then move away. And then come in, provide my energy and then move
Yes, it's very
away.
3-5.
Very
Like,
three.
give me the space to leave. Let me
Yeah.
show you everything that's not working. I'll point it out and then leave me alone. And then I'll come back.
Exactly. And I will come back in a very like rhythmic or cyclical way. Like it's not a month. I don't know how long it's going to be. Like let me show you what the natural rhythm is. And this is probably so far off, but I had an eye exam yesterday and my doctor was looking over my chart and he was like, "So what do you do?" And I said, "I'm kind of like a business consultant mixed with trying to explain to him all the things that I do." And he's like, "That's really great because most businesses don't get help until they're almost on their way out." And I
Mhm.
said, "Yeah, that's exactly it. We are so prideful and I think simultaneously mixed with a bit of shame and guilt that we don't know why our businesses aren't working, that we keep holding on, keep holding on, keep holding on. And it's like, maybe it's time to let it go. Maybe it's time for fresh energy to enter your specific life and for the legacy of your business to move and evolve in a direction that you couldn't be the person to take it because you need to go somewhere else. You need to be on a different pathway. I really wish that we would look at it like that. I know I didn't at the beginning. I definitely looked at it as I'm a failure and things aren't working out for me. And now I see it so, so, so differently. Like life is really long and there's so many things that we're called to do that if we're all fighting against the whole 9 to 5 structure, then why are we recreating it again in our businesses?
There's so much to unlearn from that because same here. When I quit my job 7, 8 years ago, I was like, I have all the capacity to pour that energy into my business. Before learning I'm a projector, before learning why I keep burning out,
Mm,
lo and behold, I burn out in my own business, in my own
yeah.
conditions, in my own timing. And I couldn't understand why until
Mm,
I had the space to be like, wow, I've been moving in a way that is not supported. I've been squeezing every juice out of me when I had no more juice left. I had to
mm,
heal. I was also coming off the roof. I didn't have the language for it or the human design on
mm,
4/6, splenic projector, cross of tension.
mm,
And I was getting so tense everywhere. And I just didn't know what else to do. I didn't know how to relax because I was convinced by all the different business methodologies. You need to show up every day. You need to coach X amount of clients. If I look at my calendar and book the 20, 30 clients, and I cannot, like, right now, even the thought of it, I'm like, I don't have this energy to give,
Mm,
and I don't want to hire more people to do it. And it didn't make sense. And I had to really step back and be like, okay, I am the business right now is an extension of me. I have
mm,
cycles, but sometimes I'm so tempted to just stay in the in cycle where I don't want to come out, which is also not healthy for a business. If I don't show my face, if I don't post, how am I expected to, you know, tell people I'm a business at this point? I might as well
mm,
be closed seasonally.
mm-hmm. And you could do that. Like, we have the autonomy and the creativity to do anything we want, which is something that I will continuously speak about and advocate for, that our individual way will work to get us the outcome that we want. Because business isn't a place where we go and try to fit into a box. It's a place where we go to express ourselves. And then we can concretize that expression through the currency of money or whatever currency that we're using in our business at the time. But it's not here to try to make us feel inadequate or feel inferior or feel stretched out or maxed out or burnt out. That's not the purpose of business. Business is just like any other artistic endeavor or creative vehicle in my eyes. I'm currently in an artist way group right now, and we are moving through the artist way. And it has been so profound to be in a group with other musicians and um, digital artists, classical studio trained artists, and everyone has their own medium that they work through. And it was about week 4 or 5 for me that I realized that my medium is business. I'm an artist. My medium, it just happens to be business. And it clicked something in my mind that it was like a burst of colors from the Crayola pack came alive. It wasn't just the numbers and the contracts and trying to get the marketing right or target the right audience or this or that. It was what wants to be said through this business? What's the overarching message? What gets to happen in our material reality because this business existed? Is it we got to heal personal traumas? Is it we got to touch our neighborhood and influence our community? Is it we got to travel around the world? Is it that people got to be free from whatever messages that we're sharing? Like there's something so much bigger about the businesses that we run and the businesses that we lead that mm, don't get enough shine. Like they don't get to stand on the pedestal. They don't get to be pedestalized enough. And I would love to see more of that. I would love to see the intersections of people's real lived experience being shared in their business, not just being, kept for behind the scenes or protected behind a screen, but show us like why you love cats and you're a chef and you make cat food that's like natural and organic and like the super niche things I think is going to be the future.
Yes, and that also leads to aquarium business. We've been
Mhm.
hearing about it a lot. People have been talking about it. And now I feel like it's becoming a little bit of a buzzword because
Mhm.
that happens with any kind of, energetic and words. But what is aquarium business? In your definition,
Mm.
how would you describe the energetics of it?
I would describe the energetics of it as a renaissance, as an emergence, as a refresh, something that is rooted in reciprocity, regeneration, connection, relational, things where things are um, connected together, held together, bound together, woven together. It's no longer singular. It's no longer individualized. So anytime we think of that word, we should think of how it is impacting, influencing, affecting the other person, because I think we are so deeply intertwined, not just spiritually, but now physically through the internet, through social media, that we are in the Aquarian times. Like there is no place that you could go, maybe remote, and those numbers, the number of those places are dwindling, where you're not going to be connected to someone that looks different than you, speaks different than you, with a different perspective, different accent, different language, different background. It's turning into a true melting pot. And as spiritualists, we always really like to talk about the oneness and the unity, and this is the process of getting to that place, the melting pot of really acknowledging, respecting, and revering each other to get to a place where we can actually fully live in the embodied truth that we are all one. We are in now the process of that. So when we're talking about Aquarian entrepreneurship, we're really talking about, and to those that feel called to be entrepreneurs, but in a refreshed way, in an emerging way, in a way that describes the renaissance of our humanity. Like there's so many things happening with AI and technology and food insecurity, but also land abundance, and so many ways that people are breaking stereotypes and old paradigms of how we have to trade and how we have to be together and how we have to connect. That to me, Aquarius represents the togetherness, but going into the newness together, not having to do it alone, and what all that brings, going into the void by yourself, having to only trust one figure or one voice or yourself. Now we have a community, we have a council, we can go and we can ask many people. And to your point earlier about discernment, being able to discern and have options. Like Aquarius is very young, fresh, cool, Renaissance energy for me.
Oh, I love that. I also love that you brought in unity,
Mm,
where it's not just everybody is like the same. I don't know,
yes.
homogenize, is that the word for it? It's
Yes, that is.
unity of our differences because we are
Yes.
also individualizing. We're coming to our inner truth and really embracing that. And at the same time, coming together stronger. That's the point
Mm-hmm.
of everything that
Mm-hmm.
is being set on fire for a very long time to rebuild again. It's like, what is your truth? How do you tap into that? And also connect with each other, because that's what we've been lacking. Just like the extreme of, before the Industrial Revolution, or during that time where it was, before that, it was so communal focused societies. And now it's more individualized, Western culture to a degree, and Eastern at times. And now it's like, okay, you figure out your individual. How do you come back together? Because we
Mm-hmm.
need each other, but not from a, like, we are all different. How do we embrace that difference?
Yes, absolutely. It's our diversity that is going to lead us into unity. And that is the Aquarian way. It's making sure that everyone has the space to discover their individuality. And them discovering their individuality is what makes the collective so diverse and in turn unified, so that we're not othering anyone else. We're saying, I really like that about you. That's really profound about you. That aspect of you is what makes you successful, as opposed to remove that, hide that, suppress that because it's not like us. It's not like what we do, that very tribalistic way of being. We're moving into a way of being that is collectivism, but it's rooted in honoring our own individuality the same way that we honor another person's individuality. And I couldn't be more excited. Like that is everything I stand for, everything that I truly, truly believe in. And it's written all over my chart in every single place that you look, that I really came here to be at this time. And I'm excited to be here because that's what I wanted. I wanted to experience all of the beautiful diversity and the way that God is expressing itself through each one of us. and what we want to build, our interests, our desires, our goals. And then for me personally, really just doing it alongside other people and not feeling so alone in that.
Yeah. Mm. Thank you for that. That kind of answers a little bit more about the evolution of business, you know? I
Mm,
think there's also what would you tell someone who is ready to embrace their energetics, but then there's also the fear of how do I make money? How? Because they
mm,
want logic, linear steps. Is that
mm.
something that you bring into the formula, whatever we call it?
Absolutely. I mean, I was just journaling this morning about believing in or society teaching us a very formulaic or equation-based God. And being used to, if I do this, then I will get this outcome. And in the Gita, it even says like the main thing is to not be attached to the fruits of your action. You do the action and you're not even really sure specifically what the fruit is going to come from that. We think that it's because we sent the email that we're now getting the sales, but it's not that one-to-one ratio directiveness that caused the sale. It could have been a slew of backlog actions, beingness, emanation, so many things that caused it. But then we say, oh, because I sent the email, that's why I got the sale. It's not always like that. And we can't ever really prove that it was because that one email was sent that that's why someone booked with you. So for me, I had to let all of that equation stuff go and just focus on being myself. My beingness is my deepest and most valuable currency. And I know that might sound off the charts or whatever, but I have tested it and I have tested all the other ways, the equation way and the non-logical way. And the non-logical way has just given me more than I have put into it. It has given me more relaxation. It has given me more clarity of mind, more trust, more confidence, more conviction in myself and in my truth, and more opportunities. There are many times where I'm just sitting at home. I'm not doing anything. Like I'm not on Instagram or anything. I'm not sending out, I haven't sent out a newsletter in probably over a year. Like I'm not doing anything that I'm not being moved to do. Like not called to do, not led to do, but a spirit is moving me to take that physical action. I don't do anything anymore. And a lot of times my mind will be like, you're so lazy, you're not doing anything, like you've been on the couch all day, or you're just like sometimes it'll even say you're just living your life.
Mhm.
And I'm like, yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's what I'm doing.
that's the
I'm
point,
living my
isn't
life,
it?
exactly. But the mind doesn't like that. The mind wants structure and it wants us to A plus B equals C. And when we do this, we always get this outcome and we are rewarded when we do this. And our society trains us that way. You get a high SAT score, you get into a good college. It's like, okay, yes, yeah, yes, and that's an option. But also there's so many other things that make me me and make me available to make money that I could not have contrived. I could not have made myself. In the Artist Way book, the author of the book, actually talks about how um, another character was saying that their biggest breakthrough came from her dad owning a sandwich shop, and a Hollywood director or someone came in and bought a sandwich from her dad's sandwich shop. And the dad said, oh, my daughter makes films or whatever. Like, maybe you guys should connect. Obviously, the dad, like, is just trying to help his daughter out. And then the Hollywood director is like, yeah, give me her information. Like, I'll check her out. And then that woman gets a big break because of the happenstance that that guy bought a sandwich from her dad's shop. Not because she's like sending in her film, to like the top agencies in the world or, anything like the most mundane things. My dad owns a sandwich shop. the Hollywood director wanted a sandwich. My dad started talking to him and it changed the rest of my life.
Mhm.
So we have to really, those opportunities are there every single day and we miss them and we bypass them because we want the A plus B equals C. We want the safety of, if I take this action, I will always get this thing. It's trusted. I can't go wrong, as opposed to the magic and the mystery of being in our life and not knowing, oh, I'm going to run into this other person at the grocery store and they said something to me about how great I look and that boosted my confidence and I've been really healing from that thing. Like, let's not be so afraid to be in life. I think that's the biggest lesson that I'm learning right now in this chapter of my life is let go of all the equations and don't be so afraid of your life. Go into your life. There's so many opportunities. And that's what I've been meeting. I've been meeting opportunities left, right, and center because instead of driving to my dry cleaner, I'm riding my bike. And I just
Mm.
happened to see a lady, walking her dog, and she tells me, "Oh, have a great day." And I'm like, "You have a great day too." I would not have seen her if I drove to the dry cleaner instead of riding my bike. But I just had this idea, oh, let me ride my bike to the dry cleaner. It's right up the street. I don't need to drive. So also breaking out from those patterns that we have kind of indoctrinated ourselves into unconsciously. There's just such magic in life and such opportunities in life to make money more than what
Mhm.
any of the business coaches would say.
But I
That's just
mean,
my 2 cents.
spoken is the true wisdom of the undefined heart because I learn so much from every time you share, and you really help us see or show us a perspective of what is
Mm,
really valuable in our life. Like, what is the point of working hard if you don't get to enjoy the fruits of your labor,
yes.
however they look like? And if I look back at every single opportunity I've gotten, none of them were planned. None of them was
Mm,
because of this email X, Y, and Z, because all the times that I tried and I pushed led to nothing. It led to
mm.
maybe, expired food as opposed to like fresh fruit coming. Every single
Yes.
opportunity that keeps coming to me comes from places I don't know where to. And I've been learning to ease and calm myself so I can, it sounds cheesy, but co-create with the universe because life is
Mhm.
moving through us. It's always happening. Even
Mm,
talking to a stranger, that can lead to a conversation that can be sometimes really rewarding and touching. And I'm like,
yes.
wow, that changed me just because I said hi to you as opposed to looking at my phone.
Yes. Yes. I know. It's so, and yeah, it just everything you said. It's just so, so, so good. And I can also simultaneously resonate with the fear of being in one's own life, because we have clung so close to methodologies and equations and making sure that our security is always stable and there. And then, you listen to a podcast and these two people are saying, go live your life. And and that can sound completely outlandish. But I personally have tried both of them for many, many, many years. And I will say that living life, as mundane as it may seem sometimes, is truly being divinely human. It's truly being both God and human, honoring your immaterial consciousness and also deeply honoring your material human self. Like, we didn't come here to just try to get away from it all. We came here to be in it all, to laugh, to play, to cry, to take long walks, to be in the now, the present now of it. And yes, we get distracted and we forget and we want to remember again. And then that's just a process that we go on. We're in the remembrance, it feels amazing, we're blissed out. And then we start tapering off, we fall off, we forget, and then we remember again, and it's amazing, and we're blissed out, and, and it just goes on and on and on like that. And as long as we don't cling to any one of those cycles, the next one will follow. Like I wrote in my journal the other day, It's okay that you're sad now, but just remember that happiness always comes after. So don't cling so much to the sadness because the next cycle, your joy will return. And then the next cycle, you're going to forget again and sadness will come. And then the next cycle, as long as you don't cling to it too tightly, the next cycle will come in faster.
And if
So
you're,
it's always up to us.
yes, and if you're, you have to be willing to let go. I feel like that's also a
Yeah.
theme that has been going through this conversation of letting go when something is enough, letting go of
Mm-hmm.
even our own suffering so that we can even
Mm-hmm.
see the joy that's coming. Sometimes I realize I've had to build capacity for joy because I
Mm.
was so used to things not working out, or the nervous energy of anticipating when is the shoe going to drop, that when I
Mm.
did feel joy, I contracted. I didn't know how to stay there. I didn't know how to be safe in the joy. Of
Mm.
course we all want joy, but I felt like, okay, something's going to happen.
Yeah.
And then realizing, oh no, you need to build safety for joy. What is safety?
Yeah.
What is your capacity? That
Yeah.
changes, filters everything.
Absolutely. I love that. And it's one that we can cultivate daily, right? Like these little points of focus. To me, this is actually the work of being an entrepreneur because as an entrepreneur, we're constantly solving problems and being creative, trying to find creative solutions for problems. And if you're not in your life, you're not going to see the creative solutions. They're just not going to appear to you. So it's in having conversations like this. Yeah, send the email. Like do the things that you feel moved to do, inspired to do. But don't do them because someone said that if you send an email and build a newsletter list that you'll make more money. You can make money walking down the street and bump into someone that wants you to do a job, and your whole life changes from there. Life is really magical, really, really. And I used to, just like you stated, have a low capacity for joy, really low. Mostly because it was rooted in fear that the world is not a safe place. No one wants to help me. There, people don't want to be nice to each other. Everyone's keeping to themselves. But the more and more we deepen into the Aquarian age, people want to help. People want to support you. People want to give their time and their energy to, excuse me, a cause or a person that they truly deeply resonate with. And sometimes the exchange isn't always money. Like money sometimes isn't enough for what wants to happen. So I think the more that we are, having these conversations and doing the different daily meditations that we need to have around topics that seem foreign or traditional, kind of away from the current moment. The more that we sit with these things, there's so much that wants to be revealed to us that can actually help us make more money in the tangible world.
Yes, it's almost like getting out of our own way. Just
Yes.
step aside, breathe, and then inspiration comes when we don't look for it.
Hmm.
Mm.
So good.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing all of this. I also wanted to ask about your musical journey. Are you
Yeah.
are you exploring that? Because I remember when Liquid Fake first came out, and I'm like, whoa, she's doing this. It's so cool. I love, you talk about your sacral and how it doesn't, the energy is not available, but I think it's just tapping, even in this conversation, just tapping into the things that are important. I feel
Yeah.
so lit up hearing about it,
Hmm.
just seeing you
Hmm.
enjoy life. I'm like, yes, this is the remembrance.
Yes. I love that you said that. Because it's a very specific way that my sacral gets lit up are things that I'm passionate about. And like I said at the top of the conversation, I've learned to love and appreciate the foundational topics that have interested me and not worry so much about, oh, am I eventually going to learn this thing or am I eventually going to learn that thing? My sacral will take me there through spirituality, through business, through wellness, through music, through culture. My sacral will lead me to a new subtopic because at the core, those are the things that really excite me, right? So I got into music mostly because of this desire of wanting to have really good music at ecstatic dance. I used to live in Bali and I would go to ecstatic dance and I would be like, okay, this is not the music that is for me personally. Um, and then I thought, oh, well, I'll just DJ my own music. Like, I mean, I like to dance, but I don't want to listen to this specific type of ecstatic dance music. So then that led me as one does, as a third line does, you bump into one thing and then it's like a domino effect of the next thing. So I started DJing with my teacher, and then that led me to a competition with Defected. And Defected is like a really big house record label in the UK and worldwide, where I ended up being one of their top 20 finalists in that competition, which then led me to be like, wait, if I can DJ this music, then I could probably make this music. So then I experimented and I was like, hey, I can make this music. So then I put that was my first time ever making music, like producing music. But I was like, okay, I guess I could do this. I didn't know I had it inside of me. And then that led me to really exploring ambient music and more healing frequency music, which in a roundabout way is one of my pillars of spirituality, one of the topics, right? But I guess I couldn't go necessarily to music from spirituality. I had to go to it through another way. And now I'm kind of back at my home base of spirituality with that whole experience in tow and producing ambient music that I haven't shared with the world yet, but I am working with a friend and we were just talking today about producing a chanting album and just really going deep into that world of like really making healing music, which if someone would have told me years ago before I went through that whole journey, oh, you're gonna make healing music, I'd be like, get away from me. Like, what are you talking about? But I had to go on that full journey to come back and be like, oh no, I guess there was a deep desire inside of me to produce really healing music because that's what I listen to all the time. I never would have put two and two together that something that I enjoy, something that I want to make as well. So it's been such a really beautiful journey to express more parts of myself. And that's actually what has led me to this full embrace of not trying to pick one thing, not trying to identify as an entrepreneur or identify as a musician or identify as a philosopher or identify as one specific thing. It's I'm just me. I'm Jasmine. I love and devote myself to all those things and I feel like they love and devote themselves back to me. And anything that I create is going to have that eclectic mosaic of me. And that's what I want. But I was so ashamed of that before. I only wanted to be seen as like one person, one thing, and that's how you get the trust of the other. But now I don't really care how anybody sees me because I love so deeply the things that I love and I want at every point to share my love for those things with anyone who's willing to listen to me talk.
Yeah, which is what I mean, pull me to you because you were just expressing what you were being moved to. And
Mm,
it's just, again, a remembrance, a reminder that there is so much that wants to be expressed through us.
yes.
And do we allow it? Do we let go
Yes.
when the expression is done? Do we, all of the things that comes from expressing and using our voice and
Yes.
whatever medium it is. But it's such a reminder just talking to you, being in your energy that wherever you're at, you're okay. Like life
Yeah.
is good. Take care of yourself and
Yes.
play.
Yes, and play. Like that's the biggest thing. And I know that it can feel kind of scary when and I feel this too, even at times where I get an idea and that idea is pulling me towards a deeper expansion of myself that I have not shaken hands yet and met and be like, oh yeah, this is us. Um, there is like a spirit that is moving through you, and you kind of have to put the personality that you've like cultivated aside and put that down and be like, okay, there is a safe version of jazz, and she doesn't make house music, and she doesn't DJ, and she doesn't do all these things. But then there's like this godness that's moving inside of you that wants to express through my eyes, through my identity as Jasmine, that wants to make this music as Jasmine. And then you kind of have to yield to that just to be curious, just to say what wants to come out. Like I'm even curious now. And that's how I'm choosing to live my life now is I'm curious how God wants to see itself through my eyes. I am curious as to why I like these types of flowers and not these ones, whereas someone else would like the opposite. It's like, oh, God wants to experience liking the opposite through that person. And I know that sounds super meta, 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 and then you could like break through all these, what's that movie called? In Inception, where it's like meta, 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 it just keeps breaking down. But that's how I feel. And that really helps me love the other person deeply because it's like, oh, God just wants to express through them like that. Like, that's really cool. I don't like that, but that person does. And
Does
that's very healing for me.
oh yes, it's it's also such a rem- remembrance that
Mm-hmm.
we're not static.
Mm-hmm.
We're not static. We're always changing. We're moved by the movies we watch, the people we encounter, the conversations we
Yes.
have, by what we feel. And sometimes growth can feel not even growth, like another journey going through another portal we're being called can
Yes.
feel so uncomfortable and prickly. And I've also gone through it. I'm like, why do I want to take up space? I'm a graphic designer. I can make a lot of money behind the scenes. I hate being on camera, but why am I being pulled to do this very awkward thing? There's something there. There's
Mm-hmm.
always something there. So thank you for reminding us of that.
Yeah, my pleasure. There is always something there. And I'm even having to remind myself every day. Like I use myself as a reminder. I'll go back to like things that I've written or just reminding yourself, reminding myself that like, no, God wants to move through you. Like just let it. You don't even have to be perfect. There's nothing that you have to do. There's nothing that you have to give. Like, just make space for God to be there and, be surprised and delighted.
Yeah, thank you so much. I could keep talking to you for an entire hour, but I want to be mindful of your time. Are you
Thank you.
ready for some rapid fire
Yeah,
questions?
let's do it.
What's the best compliment you've ever received?
Oh, the best compliment I've ever received. I love when people tell me that my energy is valuable because I work really hard to cultivate my energy. Like it has, I've had to heal a lot of childhood wounds to cultivate boundaries, but it's the boundaries and saying no to things and saying yes to things that have allowed my energy to feel as though it's just for that person. Like I have the energy to give love and pour into that person. So I love when that's affirmed back to me because most people, I don't know, maybe think that like that's natural. Yes, it's natural, but also it takes cultivation and protection and making sure that you have good spiritual hygiene and there's a lot of things that goes into that.
Oh, yes, like authenticity. It's not just being
Yeah.
yourself. No, you need to work what is
Yes.
authentic and not. Oh, love it, love
Yeah.
it. What does coming home mean to you?
Coming home is just affirming that I'm God, and then
Hmm,
everything else follows.
yes. If you could have a conversation with your past or future self, which one would
Mm.
you choose and why?
Mm. I would probably have a conversation with my past self, only because my future self always tells me that I've gotten everything that I wanted. So I'm not worried about that at all. But my past self, I would just go back and just affirm to her, don't worry, don't stress, relax, have more fun. Because right now, when I journal, my future self just tells me, like, you're the greatest, you're the best, you have the best life, you got everything that you want. So that's what I would want to tell my past self, what my future self tells me every day.
I love that. Where can people find you now? What are you
Um,
up to?
I am working behind the scenes on a bunch of really cool projects that I don't know if they would even ever translate to anything like on social media. I feel like I've gone through that whole arc of being a coach and a speaker and all these types of things. And now I'm really loving like working offline. I know that sounds so weird, but I'm like in my full offline 90s mode, pre internet, but we still post things on the website on our journal. We're still on Substack. And if people want to check us out on Instagram at Erah Society, ERAH Society, we have all of our work still up there. And obviously the newsletter, if you want to join the newsletter, I send newsletter issues, just writings, articles, musings, contemplations, things like that. We also have our agency, and that's really there to support high level entrepreneurs in their business, in every aspect of their business, from editorial, marketing, creative direction to revenue generation to even financing. Like if there's any type of equity financing that they want to dip into, Alex, my partner, works most of the time in debt financing for founders and for businesses. So that's also something that we do behind the scenes. I'm really excited for the future of this vision that's coming through around business stewardship and rewriting the traditional mergers and acquisition of like buying up businesses and only flipping them for profit, but really creating this kind of like community of businesses that maybe seem different from one another, but are really linked by a deeper ethos. So that's been coming in like very, very strongly. And yeah, it's just been very, very cool to like be offline and be in my life because I feel like I'm a different person in my life than I am online. I'm sure other people feel the same way. Online is like just a small quip of who you are. But if you want, you can find us there. Otherwise, you can email us if you love this episode. I don't know, the snail mail.
I'll link everything so you can find Jazz online or
Amazing.
offline.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here and
Thank
just
you.
sharing your presence with me. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you for being here. If you're feeling the pull to deepen your journey of self-trust and embodiment, I'd love to invite you to check out Human Design Fundamentals. It's a self-paced deconditioning library paired with live group support, designed to help you reconnect to your truth, work with your shadows, and nourish the gifts that make you, you. If you're seeking personalized support, you can also book a one-on-one session with me. And if you're a human design coach, student, or enthusiast, there are plenty of templates and resources waiting for you to make your work even more easeful. You'll find everything at wholeandunleashed.com. Thank you for being here and see you in the next time.